Anyway, Garfield gave me all this information. I forgot to ask him why he left. So the cat's not being found. I tossed it out to a colleague of mine. We do that a lot. We'll help each other. You know, say, you know, what are you getting with Garfield, you know, here? So she zooms in, not on location, but why he left. And the first thing she heard was, "I can't stand it anymore. Time to move on." What else did Garfield say? "Can't stand it anymore. Time to move on. I just want my peace back. I want peace." So I forgot to tell Pamela the first part. I forgot to tell Pamela that the cat wanted, couldn't stand it anymore. Didn't even mention it. I forgot. So then I said to Pamela, "What's going on in your life?" Now, I don't like to know anything beforehand because it might influence me. I like to just start fresh. I always tell my clients, don't tell me where you live. I don't want to know if it's city or country. Don't tell me a thing, because if the cat tells me, if the dog tells me, you know, it's a beach area, I don't know if I'm getting the information from the dog or if I'm getting it because a person told me I live by the beach. So I like to know nothing. So she's telling me her whole story, and it's so sad. You know, her husband's in jail, and she's taking care of his alcoholic father, and the father is not a very nice person, and she's spending all this time, commutes like 4 hours to work, and she's got a lot on her shoulders, and she wishes that she was in her old house where it was so peaceful then. And I wondered if Garfield, if he's not physically going back to the house, it might have been symbolic, where the old house was where the peace was. But she was saying how she was so peaceful with just Garfield and her other cat, and now this and now that, and finally she said, "I just can't stand it anymore." And I said, "Oh my God, that's exactly what your cat said." So this cat was picking this up from his person, but he was also, you know, he was feeling it himself. He wanted out. And I'm not sure if he's going to return. I'm hoping he will. The same thing happened with my own cat, Bubba Louie, who's passed on now. But Bubba Louie, he'd take off for like 8 hours a day. And I thought he had a job. I thought, where's this cat go? Out at 9 o'clock, and he comes back at 5. It's like, this is really... And I had consulted communicators before I was doing this work. And even now, when I'm doing this work, I always consult my colleagues. It's very hard to work on your own animals because your emotions are in the way, and we want to hear what we want to hear. It's hard to be objective. Anyway, the communicator, when she tuned into him, my cat said to her that he couldn't stand the tension in my house. And he says, even now, he said, when I think about those doors slamming, at the time I was living with someone and we fought all the time and we slammed doors. And it just made him so nervous he couldn't stand being around the house. My other cat sprayed for 10 years. I'd put up with it because I loved him so much, but it wasn't, and I didn't know why he sprayed, but then my partner and I separated after 22 years. We separated, and Bubby came with me. Bubby never sprayed again. So Bubby didn't like the tension either. If you have a cat, I do a lot of work with urination issues. We call it inappropriate elimination. And if you have a cat that's urinating out of the box, or a dog, something's up. You know, they're trying to communicate. You know, you don't hear them. They're trying desperately to get through. And whether it's where they go, where they spot, where they soil is important. It's a red flag. And I'll tell you a story about jumping ahead. So what? You don't know I'm jumping ahead. I want to tell you a short story about Monster and his person. Monster was pooping in the bedroom, and that's a red flag. Is that a cat or a dog? A dog. Mm. And that's a red flag because he's going on, was he going on the bed or on the rug? I don't remember, but it doesn't matter. The bedroom is where you spend your very intimate moments. You're sleeping, or you know, whatever you're doing in there. And so it's like, okay. So I asked Monster why he was doing it, and what I heard was, now this was an example of, he wasn't absorbing any emotions from his person. He did have his own issues. He said to me, I So what did he say? He said, I don't want to be left alone. So I went back to the person and they said, well, we never leave him alone. We love him. We're always with him. And there's someone always here, and I work at home, and we're not leaving him home. I said, oh, all right. And so I tried again, tuning into Monster, and I heard the same thing. I tuned into this dog about 3 or 4 times, and I kept hearing the same thing. And I said, I'm sorry. He was still pooping in the bedroom. I said, I'm sorry, I don't know what else to do for you. I keep hearing the same thing. I don't know what else to do. You know, maybe call another communicator. Maybe I'm missing something. So the session's over. I gave up, and we're talking on the phone. And in the conversation, she says, yeah, her husband and her, let's say his name was Eric. She says, yeah, Eric and I are going on vacation in a couple of weeks. I said, you're leaving Monster? And she went, oh my God. I said, have you told him you're leaving? And anyway, I went back and told Monster, they're leaving, they'll be back, someone will be here to feed you. He stopped pooping. That was his, you know, and this is really important because animals are just like us. If I said to you, let's say I'm your good friend, and I say to you, you know, I'm leaving, bye, and I walk out the door, is that good enough? You know, you want to know, well, where are you going? Who are you going with? When you're coming back? Who's going to take care of me? Someone going to feed me? You need to tell your animals all of this information, because even though they can read your mind, they, you know, even though I can hear your words, I need to be told more information. So what you do, and we learn all this when you take a communication class. I'm teaching a class in 2 weeks. I hope that you're interested enough to sign up, because it's going to be a really good class, and you'll learn a lot. But part of what we learn is how to communicate that to an animal. And basically what you would do in this case is you send an image. They understand time. I had a cat who was waking me up at 4 in the morning, and I asked him, I showed him the hands of the clock. I showed him the hands at 6. And I said to him, please wake me at 6, not 4. I want to sleep. And he did. And then after a few weeks, he'd start at 4 again, so I'd have to remind him. But they do understand clock time. So what you do is you show them the, let's say you're going away for 3 days. You show them the morning light, let's say the light at the windows. That's what I do. Light, sun coming through the windows, and somebody coming in to feed them. And then nighttime, dark windows, someone coming in to feed them. That's 1 day. And then light, and then dark. Again, you know, that's 2 days. And even if it's 3 weeks, you know, just do the whole thing. And you can almost kind of give them, in your mind, a concept of 1 week. They get it. They get it. And that will really reduce their anxiety. And then, you know, when you're coming home, and then you say, okay, the next day, let's say light windows, and then you come home and everybody's smiling. So they do get it. So you need to tell your animals what you're doing. Where was I? Okay, so I have some, oh yes, yes, yes. Fighting cats or dogs.